There are 7 levels of sleeper truck, not 7 types of driver, 7 levels of what a driver calls home when home is a truck. The sleeper berth has been part of long-haul trucking since the 1930s. In nearly 100 years, the concept has not changed. A space behind the seat where the driver can legally rest between driving shifts. What has changed is everything else. The size, the materials, the systems, the gap between what level 1 calls a sleeper and what level 7 calls a sleeper is not a difference of degree, it is a difference of world. Some of these you have seen on the highway and wondered about. Some of them you have never seen because they do not park at public truck stops. Some of them cost more than the house most people reading this grew up in. Let's start at the bottom. Level 1, the bunk. Level 1 is the 48-inch, 122 centimeter standard bunk, a mattress the width of a single camping cot, roughly the width of an average adult's shoulders, running the full width of the cab behind the driver and passenger seats, a curtain on a rail separating the bunk from the cab, storage underneath the mattress if you know to look for it, a reading light if the previous driver did not break it. That is the complete list of features. The 48-inch bunk is not a living space. It is a legal compliance tool. Federal regulations require that a sleeper berth meet minimum dimensions, at least 75 inches, 190 centimeters in length, and 24 inches, 61 centimeters in width, to qualify as a valid rest location under hours of service regulations. The 48-inch bunk meets those minimums with room to spare in length and virtually nothing to spare in width. A driver in a 48-inch bunk is sleeping in the same position they will sleep in every night for however long this run lasts. There's no rolling over without recalculating the available space. There's no sitting up fully. The curtain provides visual separation from the cab, but not acoustic separation. Every sound from outside the truck, every radio transmission from the CB, every noise from a neighboring truck at idle in the parking lot comes through the curtain unchanged. The 48-inch bunk exists because it is the minimum viable solution to the problem of where a driver sleeps when they cannot get home. It solves that problem. It solves nothing else. A commentator described these trucks accurately. They're often used more like day cabs, offering a place to sleep only when weather or delays prevent a driver from completing a round trip before running out of hours. For drivers on tight regional loops where home most nights is a realistic expectation, the 48-inch bunk is sufficient for the occasional overnight. For drivers who live in their truck, it is not a home. It is a shelf. Level 2, the 60-inch bunk. 12 inches, 30 centimeters. The difference between the 48-inch bunk and the 60-inch, 152 centimeter bunk is 12 inches of additional width and the entire quality of daily life that 12 inches represents when you are sleeping in that space every night. At 60 inches, the bunk becomes a space a normal adult can sleep in without consciously managing their position relative to the walls. Rolling over is possible. Sleeping on your side without your shoulder pressed against the bunk wall is possible. The psychological difference between a space that fits you and a space that contains you is not measurable in inches, but it is real in a way that anyone who has spent a week in a 48-inch bunk and then moved to a 60-inch bunk will describe immediately and specifically. The 60-inch bunk is still a single-level berth, one sleeping surface, one curtain, everything behind the seat in a single horizontal plane. Storage has improved. Most 60-inch configurations include overhead cabinets above the bunk, a small shelf for personal items, and a 12-volt power outlet for charging devices. Some include a small television mount at the foot of the bunk. At level 2, the sleeper is still not a living space in any meaningful sense. It is a better sleeping space. The driver who has to eat a meal does so in the cab seat. The driver who has to change clothes does so in whatever space the bunk and the cab between them provide. The driver who has to make a phone call sits in the driver's seat because the bunk offers no comfortable sitting position. It is designed for lying down, and that's the only thing it does well. Level 2 is the most common sleeper configuration on regional and OTR trucks operated by large carriers. It is functional, economical to manufacture, and adequate for a driver who measures their time in the truck in nights rather than weeks. Level 3, the mid-roof sleeper. The mid-roof sleeper adds vertical space to the equation, and vertical space changes everything about what is possible in the area behind the seat. A mid-roof sleeper sits between the height of a standard cab roof and a full high-roof sleeper, typically adding 300 to 500 millimeters, 12 to 20 inches, of interior height above the bunk level compared to a flat roof configuration. That additional height allows a driver to sit upright on the bunk edge without their head contacting the ceiling. Sitting upright sounds like a minor improvement. For a driver who has spent weeks in a flat roof bunk where the only position available is horizontal, it is the difference between a sleeping compartment and a room. The mid-roof sleeper typically runs 70 to 72 inches, 178 to 183 centimeters, in bunk width, and introduces features that begin to address daily living rather than just sleeping. A small refrigerator, typically 12 volt, 20 to 40 liters, 21 to 42 quarts, sits in the corner of the sleeper. Overhead storage cabinets run the width of the compartment. A proper television mount with a flat screen television is standard rather than optional. The curtain dividing the sleeper from the cab is replaced in many configurations by a solid panel with a door, acoustic separation that makes the sleeping environment meaningfully quieter than a curtain allows. The mid-roof sleeper is the configuration where drivers begin to personalize their space. A small rug on the floor, photos on the cabinet doors, a specific organizational system for the storage that reflects the specific requirements of the specific driver's specific run. The space has become enough of a home that it rewards investment in making it feel like one. A commenter on the sleeper truck video pointed out accurately that mid-roof sleepers are most aerodynamically efficient when paired with lower profile trailers, flatbeds, tankers, grain trailers, where the trailer height sits below the cab roofline, and the mid-roof height does not create an air gap between the cab and the trailer. That aerodynamic efficiency is one reason mid-roof configurations remain popular with drivers who spend the majority of their miles on flatbed or tanker work. Level 4, the high roof sleeper. The high roof sleeper is where the truck stops being a vehicle with a sleeping space and starts being a living space that also drives. The defining feature of the high roof sleeper is full standing height throughout the sleeper compartment. A driver of average height, 175 centimeters, 5 feet 9 inches, can stand fully upright anywhere in the sleeper. That single capability changes the daily experience of living in a truck more than any other single feature, because it removes the constant physical negotiation with the space that every lower roof configuration requires. A standard high roof sleeper runs 60 to 72 inches, 152 to 183 centimeters in length behind the seat. At full standing height throughout that space can be organized as a functional room, a bunk that folds or slides to create a sitting area during the day, a proper countertop work surface, a full-size refrigerator, 60 to 100 liters, 63 to 105 quarts, an inverter system that converts the truck's 12-volt electrical system to standard 110-volt North America or 230-volt Europe household current for running a microwave, a coffee maker, or a laptop computer. The bunk in a high-roof sleeper is typically 80 inches, 203 centimeters in length, long enough for a driver of any height to sleep fully extended, and 36 to 42 inches, 91 to 107 centimeters in width. Some configurations include upper and lower bunks for team drivers, with the lower bunk used as a seating area during the day and the upper bunk reserved for the sleeping driver. The electrical system at level 4 is the key enabler of daily living. An inverter rated at 1,500 to 2,000 watts, powered by the truck's batteries and maintained by the alternator during driving, allows the driver to run household appliances without idling the engine. Auxiliary power units, diesel generators mounted on the truck frame, provide power and climate control during rest periods without main engine idle, saving fuel and reducing engine wear during the hours each day when the truck is parked and the driver is resting. Level 4 is the configuration most long-haul OTR drivers at large carriers work toward after their first few years on the road. It is the first level at which a driver who is asked where they live and who answers honestly in my truck is not describing a deprivation, they're describing a choice. Level 5, the custom interior. Level 5 is what happens when a driver who has spent years in a high-roof sleeper decides that off-the-shelf is no longer sufficient and begins to build the space they actually want rather than accepting the space the manufacturer provided. The starting point is the same high-roof sleeper platform as Level 4. What changes is everything inside it. Custom cabinetry built to the specific dimensions of the specific truck's specific compartment, using wood, aluminum, or composite materials chosen for weight, durability, and appearance, rather than the cost minimization that governs factory interior design. A custom mattress, memory foam, or pocket spring, sized exactly to the bunk dimensions, rather than the slightly too small factory mattress that leaves a gap at the wall. A custom electrical system with a lithium battery bank, 200 to 400 amp hours, replacing or supplementing the standard lead-acid batteries, providing enough stored power for a full overnight rest without any generator or engine idle. The climate system at level 5 is frequently upgraded from the factory auxiliary power unit to a more efficient battery-powered climate control system. The same technology used in electric vehicles applied to the sleeper compartment, maintaining temperature through a full rest period on battery power alone without any combustion engine running. Custom flooring, custom lighting, LED strip systems that can be dimmed and color adjusted rather than the on-off fluorescent of the factory interior. A custom entertainment system, multiple screens, a proper sound system, streaming capability through a cellular hotspot that provides consistent internet access regardless of location. The driver at level 5 has typically been on the road long enough to have a precise understanding of exactly what they need in the space and exactly what they do not need, and has eliminated the latter with the same precision. The level 5 sleeper has nothing in it that does not serve a specific daily function. Every cabinet, every outlet, every surface is where it is because the driver put it there deliberately after years of knowing what they wish had been there. Level 5 costs between $15,000 and $40,000, $14,000 to €37,000 in custom interior work on top of the base truck cost. The drivers who spend that money will tell you without hesitation that it was the most cost-effective investment they made in their quality of life on the road. Level 6, the condo sleeper. The condo sleeper is not a modification of a standard sleeper truck. It is a purpose-built living space that happens to be mounted on a truck chassis. A condo conversion starts with a day cab tractor on an extended wheelbase chassis, a chassis specifically engineered with a longer frame behind the cab to accommodate the additional structure that will be built onto it. A custom coach builder constructs a fully independent sleeper module on that extended frame, a structure that bears no relationship to the factory sleeper compartment of any production truck because it was not designed around a factory sleeper. It was designed around the specific requirements of a driver who will live in it. The standard dimensions of a condo sleeper run 96 to 120 inches, 244 to 305 centimeters, in length behind the cab, and full cab width, 96 to 102 inches, 244 to 259 centimeters. That is a room, not a large room, roughly the size of a studio apartment's sleeping area in either measurement system, but a room with full standing height with a floor plan that allows movement between functional areas, with separation between the sleeping area and the living area that no single compartment sleeper can provide regardless of how well it is fitted out. The condo sleeper typically includes a fixed queen or full-size bed, 54 to 60 inches, 137 to 152 centimeters wide, and 75 to 80 inches, 190 to 203 centimeters long. That does not convert or fold because the room is large enough that it does not need to. A full galley kitchen, 2-burner induction, cooktop, microwave, full-size refrigerator, 150 to 180 liters, 158 to 190 quarts, a stainless steel sink with hot and cold running water from an onboard fresh water tank, a full entertainment wall, a dinette or seating area separate from the bed. A commenter on the sleeper truck video pointed out the specific use case that makes the condo sleeper economically rational: trade show freight. Drivers who haul exhibit freight to large trade shows and conventions arrive at the destination, deliver the exhibit, and then wait. Not for hours, for days. The show runs for 3 days. The driver is on site for 5 or 6. The places these shows happen, major convention centers in major cities, are not places where a driver parks a truck and finds affordable accommodation nearby. The condo sleeper is the accommodation. The driver lives in it for the duration of the show, parks in the convention center's truck area, and the cost of the condo sleeper over its working life is less than the hotel bills the same driver would accumulate doing the same job in a standard truck. Aircraft engine transport is the other application the commenter mentioned. An engine being moved from a maintenance facility to an airline hub on a temperature and vibration-controlled trailer requires a driver who's on call for the full duration of the transport, may be required to wait at the origin or destination for extended periods, and cannot be accommodated in a standard hotel because the truck and its cargo cannot be left unattended. The condo sleeper is the solution. The driver is always with the truck. The truck is always with the engine. A condo sleeper conversion costs between $80,000 and $250,000, 74,000 to 232,000 euros on top of the base truck. The total combination, tractor, chassis, and condo conversion, runs between $250,000 and $500,000, 232,000 to 464,000 euros for a fully specified unit. It is not a consumer purchase. It is a business investment by a professional who has calculated that the quality of life improvement and the operational flexibility it provides justify the capital outlay over the working life of the combination. Level 7, the legendary custom build. Level 7 does not have a category. It has individual examples. Level 7 is the truck that stops people in parking lots, the truck that gets photographed at every show it attends, the truck whose interior photographs circulate on trucking forums with no context needed because everyone recognizes it, the truck whose owner has spent between $500,000 and $1,500,000, 464,000 to 1,400,000 euros, creating something that exists nowhere else on Earth and that will never exist again in exactly that form. The base platform at level 7 is typically a conventional long-nose tractor, a Kenworth W900, a Peterbilt 389, a Western Star 4900, chosen for its proportions and its cultural resonance as the canonical American semi-truck shape as much as for its mechanical qualities. The engine has been rebuilt or replaced, a fully built competition, diesel producing 700 to 1,000 horsepower, not because the truck needs that power to pull a trailer, but because at level 7, the truck is also a statement about what is possible when someone with the skills and the resources and the vision decides to find out. The exterior at level 7 is a custom paint job that took weeks to execute. Hand-painted murals, airbrushed portraits, chrome plating on every component that can accept chrome, custom LED lighting systems that transform the truck at night into something that looks nothing like a commercial vehicle, and everything like a moving piece of installation art. The chrome work alone on a level 7 truck can represent $30,000 to $80,000, 28,000 to 74,000 euros of labor and materials. The interior at level 7 starts where the condo sleeper ends and goes further. Hardwood floors, granite or quartz countertops, a full bathroom with a shower stall, a toilet, and a vanity mirror. The plumbing running through the chassis frame to fresh water and wastewater tanks, sized for multi-day independent operation. A king-size bed, custom leather upholstery on every seat and surface, a sound system designed by an audio engineer for the specific acoustic properties of the specific compartment, climate control that maintains cabin temperature within 1 degree of set point regardless of outside conditions at any altitude. The drivers who own level 7 trucks are not operating them on standard freight contracts. They are owner-operators who have built their business, their reputation, and their identity around a specific type of work, show freight, specialty hauls, branded transport for clients who want their product associated with the image of the truck carrying it. The truck is not just the tool. The truck is the product. The truck is the reason the client chose this driver over every other driver who could have done the same job in a standard tractor. Level 7 trucks appear at truck shows, the Shell Rotella Super Rigs competition, the Pride and Polish events run by the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, where they are judged by people who have spent their careers building and operating trucks at every level below this one, and who can tell at a glance how many hours went into every visible detail. The drivers who own level 7 trucks have been asked thousands of times how much it cost. The answer they give is always a version of the same thing. More than you think and exactly what it was worth. Which tells you everything about what level 7 actually is. It is not a truck anymore. It is the answer to a question the driver has been asking since the first day they sat in a cab and thought about what the best possible version of this life could look like. Level 7 is that answer. Built in chrome and paint and leather and hardwood and diesel and miles. 7 levels? 1 cab? The 48-inch bunk that is a legal compliance tool and nothing more. The 60-inch bunk where 12 extra inches changes the quality of every night. The mid-roof where sitting upright becomes possible and the space starts to feel like a room. The high roof where standing height changes everything and the truck becomes a home someone chose rather than a space someone tolerates. The custom interior built by a driver who spent years understanding exactly what they needed and exactly what they did not. The condo sleeper that is a room on a chassis, a trade show driver's hotel, an aircraft engine escort's base of operations, a professional's investment in the quality of the life they have chosen, and level 7, the truck that stops people in parking lots, that represents years of vision and skill and capital, and the answer to a question about what the best possible version of this life could look like. Every level on this list is someone's home right now. Parked at a truck stop, running a mountain grade, waiting at a dock, somewhere on a dark highway between here and somewhere else. The road does not care what level your sleeper is, but the driver sleeping in it does.